Hi everyone, welcome to English 95 Online. My name is Alan Reed. I'm the instructor for this course. This is an 8-week course and it's divided into 4 different modules. Each module lasts 2 weeks and the module is open for the entire time. It's open for the entire 2 weeks and you have that time to complete the module. At the end of the 2 weeks, um, that module closes and the next module opens. Within that module, there are certain due dates specifically for the essays. Everything else you have the entire 2 weeks to complete. So that's the basic overview of the course. If you've never used Moodle before, it's very simple. You just log in and this is what you see. This is your screen. Um, all of your important course documents, as it's titled, are up here. And so you can see a lot of different things like examples. I give you documents that you need to use to complete some of the assignments. Here's the rubric that I use to grade your final drafts of the essays. And importantly, here's the syllabus. The syllabus gives you all the most important information for the course. I'm not going to go over everything, but I do want to hit the highlights um, of the course once it loads here. It's a bit long, it's 8 pages, but in your own time you should definitely go through this and read it a little more carefully. Um, there's my name. My email address is right here. That's very important because if you need to get in touch with me, that's the easiest way to do it. So reida@brunswickcc.edu. I'm not on campus this semester. I'm at home, so this phone number is not going to work. I'm not going to be there. Let's take a look. Let's scroll down to, here's a course calendar, so it gives you all the due dates for all these things. But importantly, I just want to show you how you're graded and some of the different policies in the course. So this is the weighting for your final grade. All of the assignments are listed here. This is nearly half of your entire course grade. 48% come from the short stories that we do, the novel checkpoints, we're reading one novel, and the vocabulary chapters. The essays account for 40% of your final grade. We write 4 essays total, so that's 10% per essay, and it's very important that you do all 4 essays. Not doing an essay will likely lead to not passing the course. And then at the end of the course, at the end of the 8 weeks, we've got a writing portfolio that we just put together, and then you retake that Compass exam. So the Compass placement exam, we retake, we take just the reading portion, not the writing portion of the test, and that's something that you'll have to schedule on your own with student services towards the end of the semester and go into on campus and actually take the physical test on campus. It's computer based. And so to pass the course, ideally, what you want to have is an 80% in the class or higher, and you want to pass that Compass test with a score of 81 or higher. So that's how you're graded. In other words, you really do need to do all of the assignments and all of the work in the course. It's okay to miss something here and there, something little, but since it is an 8-week course and we're trying to cram in 16 weeks into 8 weeks, it's very important that you do everything and that you do it well and do a high quality job. So keep that in mind. The attendance policy is a little bit different for an online course. Attendance in an online course is counted as you submitting work. So simply signing into Moodle doesn't count as attendance. Or just looking at things in Moodle doesn't count. You have to actually attempt the quiz or submit the assignment or submit the essay in order to be counted present. So that's very important. Academic honesty basically don't plagiarize. It's very easy to see if you're plagiarizing or not. And so don't do that. Also, this sort of extends to, since this is an online course, make sure that you're doing your own work. Having someone else help you or working with someone else, that can also be construed as plagiarism, and it's dishonest in terms of academic honesty. So make sure that you don't violate that policy. Late work, in terms of the online course, especially because it's only 8 weeks long, I don't accept late work after the due date. And you'll see once you submit things in Moodle, especially the essays, that they have specific deadlines. Specifically, it's midnight. It's 11:59 p.m. And so trying to submit anything after that, it won't even let you do that. If you're proactive about something, if you come to me or email me in advance and say, I don't know that I'm going to be able to do this coming week, I need some help with an extension or something like that, then I can work with you. But you can't come to me after the fact, after something is already due or the due date has already passed, and try and give me the work or give me a reason why you weren't able to do the work. So just please bear that in mind as well. That's a pretty strict policy. And then just some miscellaneous stuff. Communicate with me through email. So email me with questions or problems or anything. If you're having difficulty with your student email, you should see Distance Learning. That's in the library, and they can help you with that. There's a link to your student email here in the syllabus. It's also in Moodle. 48 hours. Give me 48 hours to respond to questions through email. Usually I will respond right away. But if I don't, I do reserve 48 hours to respond. So, you know, don't email me and sit by the computer waiting for a response. I may or may not get to it. Document formatting. Make sure that if you're typing something on your computer, that you're saving it as like a Word document. So you have to save it as one of these files, one of these file extensions. You can't save it as like WordPad or Notepad or Works or Apple Text or anything like that. It's got to be these different formats, and that's the only way that it will accept it in Moodle. Here's a link to a thing that explains how to save a file. Attendance, basically do the work. Moodle, you should check Moodle and your student email frequently. I would say daily, unless you're ahead of your work. Otherwise, the work will tend to kind of pile up on you. Okay, so that's the syllabus in a real brief nutshell. Let me explain Moodle. So for those of you who have never seen Moodle, here's the basic operation. Over here on the right, we have a course calendar. So if you click on that, it's a calendar that shows you the due dates for everything. So as you take a look at the coming month, 2 months, you'll see that most of these things are due on Wednesdays at 11:59 p.m. These are all the essays. Basically everything on here is just essay related. And that's because everything else in the module, all this stuff, vocab, reading, you can do that anytime as long as it's within the module. So you see here, module 2 begins, and you've got a full 2 weeks before module 2 ends and module 3 begins. So everything in here is open for the entire time. The first thing that I need you to do, well, let's take a look at the module. This is a typical module, and it's broken down into sections, 3 different sections: essay, vocabulary, reading comprehension. There are different assignments, activities within each section that you can do. You can do it in any order, but like I mentioned, the essay has its own specific due dates. So the first thing that I need you to do is, in an online course, I need you to do an enrollment assignment. So if you click on enrollment assignment, you'll see a PDF open up. This is called a PDF, by the way. And you can fill it out. So you can fill in these different fields, and when you're all finished, you need to save the PDF and then submit it in Moodle. Please note that you can't just click this button up here, submit form. That does nothing. It doesn't work. So let's, I won't save this, but you can save that to your computer. And then when you're ready to submit it, just go to the link below. Oh, sorry. Okay, now I'm a student. You go to the link below for the enrollment assignment, and you can add submission. Add submission. And you can either drag and drop the file into there, or you can go to add and find that file where you saved it. That's the first thing that we need to do in the course, and that's very, very important because that marks your first day of attendance. So please do that first. Now, on to vocabularies. You'll see we do 4 chapters per module. Here is how the vocabulary works. It's very specific, so please pay attention to this part. You do 2 sections. You need the Improving Vocabulary workbook that you can purchase in the bookstore. And for each chapter, you do the first section called 10 Words in Context and the final section in the chapter called Final Check. It's the paragraph with the blanks. So here's how it works. You start the quiz, and you'll see there's really nothing in here. You need the book to complete the quiz. All I give you is A, B, or C. So in your book, in the first section called 10 Words in Context, you'll see a couple of sentences that give you the definition of absolve, or at least uses the word absolve, and then it gives you 3 definitions, A, B, or C. What's the meaning of the word? So whatever you choose in your text in the workbook, you make that selection here. So let's just say it's A. So you do that for the first 10 words, okay? Now, this is the part where people get tripped up. For this last section here, where you have the different numbers and the matching, this, remember, comes from the final check section of the chapter. So it's the last section. So the first blank in that paragraph, you just fill it in. What do you think the word is? And the words are only used 1 time. So this will make much more sense once you actually use your book and look at it, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Once you've finished answering all the questions, just click Submit All and Finish. So that's the vocabulary. We have 4 chapters for each module. Now, the novel. So the novel for this summer is The Great Gatsby. And Gatsby is one of my favorite novels, and I chose it before I knew that they were making the Great Gatsby movie that's coming out this summer. Actually, I think it might be out now. But it looks pretty good. It's got Leonardo DiCaprio. Go see it. I think it's a good thing, although be aware, obviously, that it's different from the book, and that it's going to spoil the book if you watch the movie first. So maybe you wait and watch it after you read the book. But here's how the checkpoints work. We do 2 chapters per module. So let's look at the first chapter. You would read chapter 1 in the novel, The Great Gatsby. And there are basically 2 different questions. They're not really questions. They're just areas for you to input your answers. So the first thing is to provide a summary of the reading. So a summary is, in your words, what happened in that chapter. So you've got to basically think of it as you're explaining to someone who's never read The Great Gatsby what's going on in chapter 1. So explain chapter 1 in your own words. That's the key phrase, in your own words. And you need to have a detailed response. So it should be fairly detailed in at least 250 words. And this is the same for every chapter, by the way. The second part is to find 5 different things in that chapter to quote. And then you analyze what you're quoting. Now, the quote doesn't have to be an actual quote in the text. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a piece of dialogue. It can be literally any text from the chapter. But let's just say, for example, I'll give you an example here. The character Daisy says something where she says, I hope she'll be a fool. That's the best thing a girl can be in this world, a beautiful little fool. And so that's a fairly significant statement, I think. And so I chose that one. I chose this as my statement. I put it in quotation marks. And then notice that to cite it in text, you put the author's last name, Fitzgerald, in the page number, just like that. Also notice the period comes after the parentheses. And then the second part of that is that you want to sort of explain why you think it's significant. So I said that it's significant because it's Daisy explaining that it's better to be clueless than an intelligent woman. And it's another way of saying sort of ignorance is bliss. So she's not only talking about her daughter, but probably referencing herself. She prefers to remain what we call willfully ignorant. So that would be an example of one, right? One thing that I pull out of the text and then I talk about. So you need to do 5 of those. And when you're done with that, click Next, Submit All, and Finish. So I apologize if I'm going way too fast here, but really, I'm just giving you an overview. The best way to do this is to sort of work it out on your own. That's the novel. So we do chapters 1 and 2 in this first module. The short story. We also have 1 short story per module. And to do the short story, you click on short story. Again, you open the PDF. And this is a little bit different. To do this, you read the short story. But as you read the story, what I want you to do, I want you to highlight and make comments on things that you think are important. So, for example, let's say I'm reading, and I get down here and the operator references the woman on the phone as Mrs. Glass. And so I think that's important because we're learning this woman's name for the first time. And so what you need to do is drag your cursor across it and then click the highlight button in the PDF. And then to make a comment, you can just double click on it. And whatever your comment is, you can just sort of comment in that text box. And then we learn a couple of lines below that. Her first name is Muriel. So that's my comment that I'm going to make about that. Simple as that. So continue doing that as you read. The more commenting you can do, the better. I can't really give you a rule of thumb. It just depends on what you're reading. But that's what I tend to tell people is the more you do, the better. Don't just simply highlight though. Don't just like highlight random passages for no reason. That doesn't really take a whole lot of effort. Instead, you should focus on making comments. That's what I really look for. Again, when you're finished reading the story, then you would save the PDF. I'm not going to do this right now. You would save it, and then there's a link below that says upload here. So you would, again, attach the file to that link. Also, you'll notice at the bottom, there's a short video, and this actually walks you through the steps on how to do that assignment. So you can watch that if you have trouble. So I've talked to you basically about everything that we do in this course, with the exception of the essay. And there's a reason for that, because I wanted to make sure that you understand this very well. So the first essay that we're writing is called a descriptive essay. And below it, you'll see assignment guidelines. And if you click on that, it will take you to a page that basically tells you how to write the paper. You see the requirements. It needs to be 2 pages. It like sets it up and gives you an example of a thesis, gives you some tips, and actually even gives you the essay format, so how to do it. Also, where to find more information on how to do this. Basically, you are profiling a person. It can be someone you know, someone you don't know, someone you love, someone you hate, anyone. It's just a description of a person. And so if you read this, you'll learn more about it. So, how do you do the essay writing process? Don't start off with writing the paper. Don't start there. That's not the first step. The first step is to write the outline. And so let's look at the outline example. I'm up here. Essay outline example. This is step 1. This is what your outline should look like. Just like this, because this is in MLA format. You would do your MLA heading. That's what this is called here. This is called the MLA header up here. Give it a title. So what's the title of your paper going to be? And then I want to know 4 things. I want to know what's your thesis, what's the main idea of your paper, and then what are the 3 topic sentences. Basically, what are the 3 body paragraphs in your paper going to talk about? So notice that they're complete sentences. They need to be complete sentences because, as you can sort of see, this is going to end up being the start or the framework for your paper. So you can literally keep these sentences as they are. Once you come up with your outline and you submit the outline, I'll comment on the outline. So I will provide feedback on what I think is a good idea and what maybe needs some tweaking or something. And you'll be able to see that feedback and make those changes before you go and write a full-blown draft. Too many times I've seen it where people will sit down and just crank out a 2-page paper, but it's completely unorganized or it's not the right type of paper or something like that, and they need to go back and rewrite the whole thing. So in an effort to stop that, you're just doing an outline first, and then I'm commenting on that, giving you feedback, and that way you can go from there, and if you need to tweak something, you're not making major revisions. So make your outline form look just like this, okay? Then, when you're ready to submit it, go into the descriptive essay link. You'll see we have 4 parts here. This is the first part, the outline. You go up here to My Submissions. Give it a title. Doesn't matter what your title is. Give it a title, and then you browse for that file wherever you saved it, and then check that, add submission. That's it. That's the first part. You can see due dates right here. After I've commented on your outline form and you see my comments, well, let's take a look at the link at the calendar here. So the first outline is due really quickly, and it's due Friday by midnight. So you need to have something in there by Friday, and then over the weekend I will comment on the papers so that you can see my comments, and then you can put together a first draft, and that first draft, the first full draft, is due by next Wednesday, May 29th. So you can see we move really quickly. But that's where the first draft comes into play here, due on the 29th. Then, so you'll submit the actual first draft. Then the next part is you submit a self-review. What is a self-review? I'll show you the self-review. There's a link under the important course documents there on what the self-review looks like. So again, make it look just like this. MLA heading, MLA header, title, this is all MLA format. And then respond to these questions, okay? You don't have to retype the question. I suppose you could if you wanted to, but you don't have to. you can simply just number it and give me your responses. But the more specific and the more detailed you are, the better the grade's going to be. The final question in the self-review asks you to look at the final draft rubric. And then it says, what do you think you're going to get on the final draft? Basically. So out of 70 points, what do you think you're going to get? Well, here's the final draft. You can look at it. You can even calculate it as closely as you'd like to figure out what you think your final grade is going to be. That's the self-review. So you would type your document, answer those questions, and then again, submit it in Moodle under the self-review when it becomes available. And then the final step is to then fix your first draft and submit a final version, submit a final draft. So you can see that we've got a lot of different stuff going on with those essays. And they all have different due dates. And that's why I think the calendar is extremely important for you to follow, because it tells you when things are due. So for example, outline is due Friday, May 24th. Then we've got the first draft. Then you've got the self-review. Then the final draft will always be due at the end of the module. So, very, very, very fast-paced class. I am very aware of that. And it's very easy to fall behind in the course. So please, please, please stay up to date and give me a strong 8 weeks to get through this course and to get into 111 in the fall. That's where you want to be. So we can do this. It does take a lot of work. It takes a strong work ethic. And most of all, it takes a lot of organization and time management. So we're not splitting atoms here. It's not super difficult stuff in terms of English, but it is a lot of work and it is a lot to keep up with. And those are the successful students, the ones who can keep up with it and do it on time. So please do not hesitate to contact me with any questions through email. Please, again, be proactive instead of reactive. So the sooner you can do things, the better. The sooner you can contact me, the better. It just always works out much better when you don't procrastinate. Let me know if you have any questions. I am looking forward to this semester, and I know that you can do well and pass the course. So have a good semester. Thank you.